Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Dr. Wade. This show was created for and inspired by the thousands of patients I've served. So it's time for me to speak up and speak out on their behalf. With a wide range of experts, we bring you weekly insights diving deep into topics of controversy to bust through the sugarcoating that keeps you and your family stuck in the mainstream. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm excited about our guest, Dr. Jason Richardson, who is...
Are you sure you're interviewing him?
Wow. He's a world-class athlete. He's super smart, and he's slightly impatient today with my remedial video, first Be Live ever setup. And like he just said, it was easier than I thought. So it was too easy. You expect it to be harder, which is something we're going to talk about today. So Dr. Jason Richardson hails from California. He is a world-class athlete in the BMX arena. He is also an esteemed psychologist. So Dr. Jason Richardson, thanks for being here today. The value here with Frankly Speaking is that what we're going to discuss has a health stint to it, has a health vein, and we're going to talk about mindset. And right now we have a lot of hype, more hype than buzz around New Year's resolutions, around setting new goals for 2019 to now finally found through. We know about the stats. We can touch on some of those. But let's get into some good mindset around health and where people struggle.
All right. So, well, you can ask me anything you want. I'm dumb enough to try to answer anything. Thanks for having me on the show. Just so people know, Wade and I go back just a bit. So I was giving him a hard time. I knew this is his inaugural first time using this platform and everything. So I just wanted to give him a hard time and throw him off. But the consummate professionally is he came through anyway. So thank you. And let's go. How about you ask away? I did make a face, though, when you said resolutions.
It was awesome. So you're going to see, if you haven't already, that Dr. Jason is quite candid. I love that about him. He is right there in your face going, here's what it is. But he's got a giant heart as well. So he's got this gift to bring a message with like kindness and love. So today, brother, I want
a little bit of FU.
Yeah, a little bit of FU. For those of you who haven't, you didn't get to see that, but
we're in the group.
You may have a chance to explain that. So first of all, tell us about yourself and some struggles that you've had in your day, because although you guys may see that he looks like he played for the Los Angeles Lakers, I believe he has not. This is not that guy.
No.
But he's handsome. So he looks like Rick Fox of the Los Angeles Lakers, and I'm sure it's the first time he's heard it. I won't let my wife meet him. Done, because she loves Rick Fox. So anyway, this is a lookalike, and Dr. Jason hasn't had easy street. So I want to know, and so do people want to know, where have you struggled, and how have you found this path that we're going to get into as well later?
Let's see. Where have I struggled? Let's see. In plenty of areas, but usually when I go on stage, the struggle that I speak of, well, I shouldn't say the struggle, I'll call it a pain point, was when I broke my leg in 2006. I broke my femur. It was like, it looked like this in the x-ray.
Jagged.
And I'm actually touching a space on my thigh right now where I can feel where the bone went through.
Busted through the skin?
Yeah, it went through the skin. So so that's where I speak on that because that happened late in my professional career when I was supposed to be done. And then it I guess the resolution of that whole thing, or, the silver lining around that was I did end up racing again and winning one of the biggest races of my life toward the end of my career as kind of the old man in the sport. But when you talk about struggle, I think, there's too many to really name. So like there's these pain points, right? Trigger points we have in our life, but like struggle, how about where did I struggle? How about yesterday? How about I struggled yesterday? How about I struggled this morning? How about I struggled Friday, or the day before that, or the day before that, or the week before that? I mean, it's kind of constant, right? And I also speak on that, the struggle is manufactured. So yeah, there's hardships, right? There's like stuff that happens, right? Loved ones get cancer, your dog gets hit by a car, your Amazon package didn't show up, right? That stuff happens, right? I'm talking about like the struggle being manufactured in the head, right in here, where we kind of doubt ourselves, sometimes for good reason, but a lot of times for no reason, where we kind of walk around with a sense of uncertainty. And because we feel uncertain, we feel unsafe. Because we feel uncertain and unsafe, therefore we don't make that effort to go do something or try something or live a life that we would prefer or want or dream of. We play it safe, so to speak. So there's a lot of different ways struggles manifest. For me, though, and I think what you're getting at is kind of some of those bigger kind of trigger points or bigger points in my life. So, but there's a lot of stuff. Mixed parents. So my dad's Black, my mom's from Pakistan. Divorced parents. That was like all the rage in the 80s. You could call it latchkey kid. Let's see. We can get into some custody battle stuff. We can get into we can get into a lot of stuff. My brother's, I love him, but he's a dick. He's not. Actually, everyone loves him, but made some really poor decisions in his life, and his health is not great, which is upsetting. Let's see, struggles. And I'm in this world working to make a living, raising 2 kids.
I think I can help focus.
Yeah. So
let's take it down just to back up a sec. Yeah. So these are first-time listeners who don't know you.
I know. I'm just giving them everything.
No, it's good. You're doing great, by the way. I just think I wasn't specific enough. So in what you do with your work, I think, how did you come to this place? Number one, you're a successful athlete. You've had a career. You can springboard out of that to serve others, which you're doing. Mm-hmm. But most people are looking at a highlight reel. They're seeing this guy is a successful BMX racer professionally and has had worldly success. They see the end. They don't see the work going in. We all struggle day to day. You had mentioned it. So in light of some of the highlight reel we get to see, there's judgments that are made, snap judgments. And let's talk about comparison, like comparing yourself to others, or, you're talking about manufacturing. And this starts to come into the same conversation, which is, for example, patients I've seen just today, they come in with real life struggles today when we've had discussions about these same things over and over. And that's perfectly okay, because that's life. It's not, I'm frustrated, we're having this conversation. And I struggle day to day. Like literally, I'm laughing inside, and outer, when you're talking about how did I struggle like yesterday or Friday and this weekend and today. It's like, that seems like it's my life. There's something I'm battling between the ears, and to win that battle is a game we've got to start to win. So I think people think they distance themselves, for one, like their troubles are different than yours or mine. And that when we separate, we isolate. So taking that into context, how'd you get to this point? Like, this is what you want to do. You wrote the book. Can you give them the title?
Yeah. It's all BS. It's all BS. We're all right.
So where you came from then, you and I had a discussion, and you said, you know what? It's old for me. I see things different now that I wrote the book. And the next one is going to have a little different spin based on experience. And now that you got those words out, but when you were in that spot to this spot, how'd you get to the first BS in maybe summarize that? And then how did that jump you to this next spot?
Got it. So I always knew I would write a book. That is one thing I always knew. I was a philosophy major in college. I was always kind of a thinky, philosophy, meta kind of dude. Anyways, even though I am an athlete and pushing forward. Yeah, and I had my emo years in high school, Creepers, Doc Martens, and that. But I would get. So I always knew I would write a book, and then when I went to this line of this professional line, I should say, it was evident that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when. So I had the good fortune of working with a peer of mine who was actually my supervisor when I was getting my hours. And he had this seminar that he did with his dad. His dad was a board certified surgeon. And so it was called Train Your Brain. And it was built on, belief and affirmations and kind of the neurology of the brain and how that works and habits, blah, blah, blah. And so I had an MBA as well in a former life, in a very quick life between my racing and doctoring, I should say. And I was a brand manager at a company. So I said, let's take that and rebrand that and reposition that. So we did that. And so I literally, every Wednesday, we had this contract with a hospital, and we would do weight loss groups, and we would do aging, aging, I don't want to say aging prevention, but helping people age gracefully, treatment prevention, because a lot of patients are treatment resistant, and that costs hospitals a lot of money. So I was doing probably anywhere from 2 to 6 hours every Wednesday for 2.5 years, just speaking on, brain and evolution and perform. And I'm adding my performance stuff into this. And I saw sports psych when I was competing. So I'd kind of done the work myself as well. So in a weird way, I re-engineered all my successes and failures through my education and through applying this with other people. So the BS, obviously a play on words, but it's belief systems, and how a belief is the big thing, and everything is based on your belief. Every single thing you get, right? So it goes belief, feeling, action, result, belief, feeling, action, result. And so we have a belief, and because of that belief, it gives us a certain feeling. And then based on that feeling, we act a certain way. And then based on how you act, you get a certain thing. Where we get tripped up are the negative feelings. Okay. So we don't like pain. We don't like being sad. We don't like being, some of us don't like being angry. And so we avoid that. And we also think that's negative. And so, in that context, that's when we act, or in many cases, do not act. We enact. And then we don't get what we want. And so my training with people, whether it's groups or individuals, is helping them learn that sequence, and then understanding that the feelings are real, right? The struggle is manufactured. The feelings are real, but the struggle might be manufactured, but the feelings are just energy. Because what I know from sport, what I've experienced is I have felt nervous, I have felt scared, and I still performed really great. Okay. Conversely, I have felt awesome. I have felt confident, and I have gotten served up. Right. Just treated like, what happened? I was the man, right? So what happened? So that was breaking my rules, so to speak. These rules we have, right? A lot of people have rules that say, if I feel X, then I can do X. If I feel good about X, and I want you to feel good. Don't get me wrong. That's like icing on the cake. I want you to feel confident. I want you to feel good. I want you to feel all the lovey-dovey, warm fuzzies. However, it's not a prerequisite for success. And so where we get caught up is in those negative feelings. But what we want to understand is those feelings are energy. Okay, and so we can harness that energy. And I always use the example of, if you're walking down the street. You mentioned your wife earlier. You're walking down the street. Say you're on vacation in Mexico. I think you were.
Yep.
And you good? All right. Got a little one still on vacation. There we go. Real life.
That's good.
That's good. You're walking on vacation in Mexico. Someone rolls up, snatches her purse. How are you going to feel?
Yeah.
Upset? Scared?
In another country, a little probably upset, more scared than.
But that's based on a belief, right? I'm in danger. A belief of thieves are dangerous. Whatever. Maybe there's some racism in there. I don't know. But the point is, there's a belief, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or thieves are bad. Very simple belief, right? And so all of a sudden it's like scared. So what do you do? What do you do? Do you chase after that person? Do you call the police? Do you run the other way? I don't know. So someone's chasing you with a knife, same deal, right? Scary, right? Person with knife, bad, belief. I'm going to die, belief, right? You run. How fast do you run?
Like fight or flight run.
Fight or flight run, right? So that fear, fast, right? And we say the fear is negative. We don't like being scared, but that fear can serve a purpose, which is you running your fastest ever to get out of harm's way. Or maybe you find some superhuman strength and, do some matrix stuff and like dodge bullets and, whatever it is and get out of the way. But the point is the feelings that we avoid can also help us. But then here's the deal. When we start avoiding those feelings or even fighting those feelings we don't like, our eye is off the ball. I'm just going through all kinds of sports analogies right now. Our eye is off the ball. So
could we say resistance? Resisting the feeling, resisting the emotion as though it doesn't exist because
resisting
we've judged it.
The emotion, but there's a lot of energy in that because at the end of the day, you are feeling that.
Yeah. I mean, we're saying the behavior comes across like, I don't want that to be true, so I'm going to avoid it. So we spend energy. It's not really an investment. We're spending energy to push that away, disregard it versus allow it to have space. I know that's where I struggle, is allowing some of those emotions to be there and not attach myself to them. And that is a daily struggle.
Right. So here's the deal. We have energy. So the energy is always there, right? And we have energy givers and we have energy suckers. Okay. So it's all energy though, right? So the energy sucker, and you brought it up early, was comparing. Energy sucker.
Yep.
Complaining. Energy sucker.
Yep.
Complicating. Energy sucker. Okay? Worrying. Energy sucker. Those are the 4 energy suckers. Energy giver. Being grateful or showing graciousness. I don't know how we would kind of make that more verby, right? Acceptance.
Gratitude.
Yeah, gratitude. Acceptance, right? Acceptance. Yeah. This sucks. This sucks. I don't like it. I can't stand it. Just like that is so much easier than I hate the fact that I feel this way.
Right.
Right? So gratitude, acceptance, focusing. Actually, I would say simplifying and then focusing.
I'm going to write these down for you. Go ahead. Gratitude,
acceptance, simplifying, focusing. Those are energy givers. And by the way, those also come with a little bit of pressure.
Simplifying and what? Last one?
Simplifying and focus.
Focus, thanks. Oh, nice.
One quick moment. I have a little one who's asking me a question. Yes.
So for those of you who are just joining us, we have Dr. Jason Richardson here with us today, and he's getting into the crux of our belief systems that creates what I think is a belief set. And a belief set comes before our mindset. So we look at managing our mindset.
That, belief set.
It's mine. I just coined that, dude.
I like that.
Okay.
I'm not going to take it. And thanks for your patience.
We're good, buddy. This is real life. This is real life.
It is.
So we adapt. That's my whole mantra. Yeah. It's adaptation. So we're with Dr. Jason. He's hitting on some meaty stuff. We just talked about the undertones behind the behavior, and that's what really I want to uncover. Is because we work on changing behavior, but we don't get at to why that behavior persists. Go ahead, Dr. Jason. You've been nailing it. So we just went over the positive emotions.
So we went over the energy suckers and the energy givers.
Energy givers, thanks.
Yeah. And so we get caught up in our emotions, right? So belief, feelings, actions, results. And we get caught up in our feelings because we're searching for the feel good. I mean, right? That's why people self-medicate. right? Let's be real. And
well,
by the way,
not here in Wisconsin because we don't have CBD oil acceptance here yet.
I'm an addict. I search to feel good too. What do I do to feel good? I talk to people. I hang out with my friends. I love,
go for a ride.
I geek out on bike stuff and go ride or I get moving. I like velocity, right? So that's what keeps that's what I'm addicted to.
Yeah. That's good.
So we're all searching for the feel good. It's just probably, I'm not going to say it's not mathematically possible, but it's probably not going to be there 100% of the time. And so we get bent out of shape when it is, because we have a rule that says, I must feel good in order to do good. I must feel good in order to perform well. And that's not necessarily the case.
So you said something interesting there that I found actually fascinating, if I heard you correctly, and that is, it's not possible to be there 100% of the time.
I said probably. I said, I'm not going to say it's not mathematically possible, but I'm saying it's probably not possible to have those feel goods all 100% of the time.
Well, let's just, I'll be the devil's advocate.
All right.
I'm going to say it's highly, highly unlikely you are ever going to experience nothing but positive emotions or energy creating emotions. Why? Because we're balanced beings. Like,
there you go.
You can't have, it's like avoiding my shadow. For years, this is who I am and this is how I present. And many of my patients see me in that role, and yet I'm a human being. And I have, for every positive thing here, my body, I believe there's a balance in there. Mm-hmm. And so we all have that, which means we're going to be exposed to doubt, self-criticism, fear, anxiety.
Right.
It's just,
and that's kind of the whole point. Like I would be worried about you if your dog does get hit by a car and you're like, it's cool, let's go to the pound and get another one. Like I'd be like, no, we probably might want to sit with that one for a while. Like let's honor your dog, man. Let's mourn this a little bit, right? I'm worried about people who when you run across people who have that flat affect and that lack of kind of emotional connection to, things that are, for lack of a better word, heavy. Those are issues. That's called maladaptive coping, right? We're bordering on some like Bernie Madoff type psychopathic stuff.
So we're looking at the lack of remorse and hiding feelings, which is basically not acknowledging them. Well, some people have had some events in their lives where they've trained themselves. And here again is in my perspective, that is a natural balancing act that they've had to do to survive. That survival mechanism can run its course, right? So meaning if I had a really blatant example, someone who's abused or molested early on, as sad as that is, and unfortunate and terribly traumatizing, the forward movement, the behaviors that come out of surviving in a scenario like that, then get blanketed into that individual's life pattern. At some point, that's where you come in as a healer of the mind and a healer of psychology to understand and gain perspective for your patients and now other colleagues. Mm-hmm. But that piece, being able to acknowledge and go, look, it served you then. How do we grow forward so you can have richness in your life without that defense, that really thick layer? I know I'm guilty of, I don't even like the word guilty. Sorry. That's the blame part of me, right? Yeah. But we can get into that another point, is the perspective that there's self-judgment for a behavior. So I'll hide certain things and I don't even realize I built up a crust, a layer.
Yeah, it's like a
shell.
It is, and it's interesting because everything, well, I shouldn't say everything we do. A lot of the things we do don't happen overnight, right? So like it's kind of, success is just as insidious as, failure, or I shouldn't say failure, but like, I would say habitual losing, so to speak.
Right. Right.
And even in the book, I talk about that. Like no one goes to bed weighing, 192 and then wake up at 355. You know what I mean? It happens over time. If I walk around my house and I look at some of the pictures that I have of me and my wife and stuff like this, maybe when we were married or 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's like, I've changed. I was stronger. I was, my hair had more color. My ink was I had more ink in the printer. Those kinds of things. But because I've been waking up and looking at myself every day in the mirror and kind of like gradually getting used to those incremental changes, like I don't see the change unless I open the yearbook.
We call that boiling the frog, right?
Yeah. So the trick is how can we be mindful enough, especially with things that we're consciously trying to move toward. Okay, like aging's aging, and we want to take care of ourselves and be healthy. And maybe you're into surfing this year, and then you get into bike riding next year. Fine, whatever. But how can we be mindful enough, whether you're creating a business or you are like moving toward some health aspiration or goal, to recognize that we are changing or evolving incrementally. The question is, are we evolving incrementally or are we de-evolving incrementally? Right? So while this is we are the frog, the question is,
are we aware that we're in the pot?
Are we aware that we're in the pot? Excuse me.
Well, I would, because you touched on a really cool point here, is if we look at change is inevitable, but progress is not.
Yeah.
Tell me what you get out of that. For example, while people are watching this and trying to stick to last week's, I'm looking at my watch, last week's resolution, last week's goals for 2019, how their lives are going to change.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk about two statistics, one specifically is 92%. Does everyone know what that means? 92% of New Year's resolutions have already fallen flat by 60, 90 days in, 6 months out, something like that. How many?
I said, wow.
Or did you say, wow? Yeah. So that's an arguable number, but the bottom line is, and 43 or 47%, just read this yesterday, of resolutions involve relationships. So why am I saying that now? Because most of us aren't focusing on relationships that's why I wanted to talk with you about this. Because from a big headspace idea and knowing that your clients, your colleagues, we have limited thinking at times from previous belief sets, and we have a hard time expanding beyond that because we want this goal to be reached, weight, health, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's financial, and yet our execution and follow through is in paradox with our belief set. So we're like fighting ourselves all the time. And that's why you're saying it's manufactured. So open that up, please.
So yeah, here's the other thing. Here's kind of like I don't want to say the third thing, but the kind of coming at it sideways piece. Another dimension to it is hard conversation to have, but do you really want the shit that you say you want?
Boom, start there. Or is it someone else's goal?
Because that's the thing. Like, if the lottery, okay, there's such a thing. Apparently, if you play it, you have an opportunity. You have a chance of winning.
I don't play it.
I don't play it either. However, I hear a lot of "it'd be nice if" conversations. It would be nice if I won the lottery conversations, right? I hear a lot of time, especially when it gets to that certain point and the news is talking about it and people go, "Oh man, it'd be so cool if," and that's just kind of like the water cooler conversation. It's just the conversation. And it's funny because a lot of people forget a lot of people talk about that even in my sport. I mean, even like, oh, it'd be so cool if I was sponsored by so and so. It'd be so cool to travel and race. It'd be so cool to be pro. It'd be so, but they're not really like going for that. And it's so funny to me, and I mentioned this when we first met. It's like, I don't understand why people would mention that and not actually go for that. Like, that's just like, why do that to yourself?
You actually put it in better terms than that, by the way. I loved it. How can you want something and not go after it?
Oh, that's what I said. Okay.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's one of those things where what did I say?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it was on your record button and your brain was on. But yeah, how could you want something and not go after it? So I don't know that so here's an example. I would like to win the lottery, but I don't know that I want to, because guess what? I don't play.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I want to be better. It would be nice to be better on my bicycle from a skill standpoint, maybe turn better, hit a turn faster, climb longer. And I know I want to. You know why? Because I get out and ride regularly.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So nobody that I know, like everything you do, it's ultimately because you're getting something out of it. I'll repeat that. Everything you do because you are ultimately getting something out of it. Now, yeah.
It's worth, this is a huge point. I agree.
Yeah.
I just can't stop eating sugar. Example. Why? Because you're getting something out of it.
Yes.
You know better, but you persist. You're getting something out of it. And you're like, what would be so irrational, dumb, would I say?
Well, we call it, in psychology, we call it secondary gain, right? We humans, check it out. A lot of the time, even though we know things are bad for us, we're addicted to pain, so to speak. We're addicted to drama as well, right?
Yes.
And why is it that everything we do doesn't work? Why is it that you've seen all the experts and you've gotten all the coaching and it doesn't work? Why is your problem like so much, right? How is it that you've tried everything in weight loss, but nothing works for you, right? Exercise works for me, and eating decently works for me, works for, most people. I'm not saying that you're not an anomaly, but chances are you're not, right? But we're addicted to that because the secondary gain is significance. The secondary gain is importance. The secondary gain is that freaking dopamine rush you get because your struggle is so big that nothing can be done about it.
Does it also validate us?
And it validates the belief you have, right?
Gives us certainty.
Others, and the world that make it right.
So what we're not doing is judging, by the way. This is really just trying to uncover how actually, I don't want to use the word
how
normal.
We roll. That's how people roll.
Yeah, but how normal people are, how normal the people that are going to listen to this are. This is the nuts and bolts I want to discuss. You don't need more information. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is like today we have access right now. We have access this moment to the most information in the history of mankind.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Accessible.
Right.
And yet we still have climbing numbers of ill health, disease, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, overweight and obesity is again climbing. Why? Not because of not enough information, but moreover, how do we bridge the gap between information and you? Like, how do you make sense of it? So I have Dr. Jason here today because
it's hard. So it's kind of like, I call it convergence, and I have not even been able to convergence. I call it that.
Okay.
Because, and I haven't even been able to really write about it. And I didn't even attempt to in the first book because I didn't, but I think I'm going to go there in the next one. But it's like you have knowledge, right? This is what I know. And then you have the belief, right? This is kind of my set of values, that this is how I see myself, the world, and others. And the convergence is when they meet.
Nice. And it's in that
And it's in that sweet spot where you're Michael Phelps and Michael Jordan and LeBron. That's, Bill Gates, that's a Richard Branson. It's like in those spots where it's just like everything you know is like, and everything you believe is just like right in that sweet spot. And by the way, it might not be everything in, like in your whole life. It could just be like in a domain, right? In your spot of life. And I had this experience. I remember the exact point, but I was on a tear racing one season, and just so happened I strung together a few wins. And then I remember getting home from that race, and my manager was like, doing things and kind of like looking at the points. He's like, I really think you got a shot at this year. And then I just remember like just taking a shower, had a long drive, and then I would play music in the background when I was taking a shower. And I don't know, it's just like the way the song was hitting, and I was just like, coming off of a win, it's like, everything's great. But it hit me in that moment where it was like everything was really coming together. Like, not only did I know I could win intellectually, but like the belief was like, not that I'm going to win, but the belief was like, I win. Like, I'm a winner, period. Right. And that's when that matched up for me. And it was just like, oh, I got out of the shower. Like, okay, this is what's happening this year. It was like, like the sun is coming up, right? There was no, it was just life, right? There was no doubt in that one, quick moment.
So if I write a phrase, belief converging with performance, is that accurate, or is that not the?
No, it was more like the convergence was more like what I knew, right? My beliefs were matching up with my knowledge, right? Because you talked about information, right?
Okay.
And the funny thing is, it wasn't a belief about the information. It's usually belief about, like I said, yourself, the world, and others. So I've referenced that in the past, and there'll be an upcoming probably monologue podcast on the knowing doing gap. And that's really what you just kind of spoke about. Mm-hmm. I think you could apply it to a group that we're part of, and then look at it and go, okay, there's some knowers and doers, and there's some really knowers and great movers, and then there's some knowers and slow movers. Yeah. And well, here's a great example of this. The worst doers, in my opinion, are academics. And they know the most stuff. I mean,
analysis paralysis?
I mean, it could be. But in academics, right, if just think about the world of academics, which I respect. Clearly I went all the way you can go in school. However, I had the good fortune of being around a bunch of ragtag individuals, in the action sports world, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs, and we're just so I had this big dose of other influence that was kind of like, okay, it allowed me to temper, all that I knew, right?
Sure.
But in academics, right, there's the scientific method, and there's and test this theory out, and all, and I'm not saying it's not valid, but there's also Master P. Right? Master P was a rapper from like Houston or Miami, and he would sell CDs out of the trunk of his car and then he eventually became record label guy. And just, if you were to talk to him, probably not the most articulate person, probably not the most well-read person, but man, could he make a great business decision. And so we're seeing this right now. We're at this really great, or I shouldn't say important, I wouldn't say great, but yeah, we're at this really interesting inflection point in history where all of the institutions, right, school or banking or whatever it is, right, all of these like very rigid systems are starting to kind of not crumble, but just be forced to
change,
to prove their worth, right? To hold up, because the knowledge is there, right? And so when you talk about business and we talk about doers, the people that are doing and applying as they're doing are doing just as well as, you know, the person who might have went to school and applying that academic theory. But I can tell you that in my coaching profession, even in sports now, because even the training has gotten scientific, that there's this separation between knowing and doing. And and to me, that's become an unfortunate byproduct of all the stuff we know, because you know too much, right? I talked about being a latchkey kid. And by the way, it's not like, oh, poor me. I mean, that's just, I wasn't, you know, that was my neighborhood. All of us got off the bus, we walked home, right. And we opened the doors to our houses to parents who were at work for a couple hours before, you know, they got home. You know, got home at 3:00 or whatever. So, but there was something to that, right? Because we got outside, we got in fights, we got in trouble. We had to figure out how to get out of it before our parents found out. Like all of that stuff is doing, right? Yep. Like that's like doing. And so now, like in my clinical profession, when I'm seeing these college students and they're dealing with all this overwhelm and they go to UCSD and this, like, you know, and they're in some kind of STEM, whatever, and they got perfect grades in high school and they can't deal because they got a C. And I asked this kid, I was like, dude, like, you ever been in a fight? And he looked at me like I was speaking Greek to him. And I'm not like telling people they go out and pick fights with people. I'm not a violent person, but it was very telling in that there was no doing in his life. There was a lot of knowing. The value, right? The belief system, the value was placed on knowing information.
Right. Yeah.
And how we came up. I'm not trying to blame it on the millennials, because trust me, there's a lot of millennials that I go to learn this stuff, right? And to keep me fluid. But there's also a lot of value in doing. Probably more so, right? Because you can apply the doing to the knowledge after the fact. You can always apply the doing to the knowledge after the fact.
If you can, let's break this down to a take home.
Yeah.
And a take home with knowing that there's knowing, no way around that there's a gap between the actual behavior, the action, the doing part, the fear between knowing and doing. There's so many dynamics. It's not like we're going to solve this today. This is obviously bringing Dr. Jason Richardson back at other points, and we discuss like heavy issues between the ears.
Yeah.
But growth, expanse. So if we go, and that's a whole nother one too, when we talk about expansion, contraction. So when we come to that point, like, hey, I have the knowledge, I want to go do this, whatever it is. If it's a goal for the new year, a strategy, a target, whatever it is, an action, changing diet, you're going to go to the gym. We start out good. Where in your eyes, simplifying, is the breakdown? Breakdown between, I know I need to be there, I've committed to this, and now I can't. I've done it for the first 5 days, 17 days. I'm really good at one in a row. I really am good at one in a row. But to put that all together, you know, where do you see as an athlete, author, and all your, you know, over the grand scheme, how do you summarize that and go, where's the real breakdown? And is it that simple?
I begin with, is what you want what you say you want?
Good.
Because there's plenty of fat, happy people.
So change.
I wish it were more scientific. Here's the thing. There are, right? Like, in theory, you're saying I want to get on this health program, whatever it is, and weight loss is the easiest one because that's kind of like
Yep. It's one of the most popular,
right? But like, why do you want to lose weight? Because your doctor said so, and I know you're a doc. But okay, so what if they say so? So what? Is it to look better? Okay, for you. For someone else? Why? How will your life be better because you lost 25 pounds? I mean, like, I'm not trying to like discourage you from doing it. I'm not. Like, keep in mind, I go to the Olympics with people.
Right.
But the thing is, like, you don't have to do this, right? There's other things to focus on.
So what's the why to that person?
Not even that. It's not even what's the why. Who do you want to be? What is the image of yourself that you hold within yourself? Right?
Good.
And can you live up to that? And by the way, if the image is something negative and not serving you, then can, are we willing to step up and change that, right? But it's a you thing, right? It's getting over yourself. And once you can like actually say, no, like this is where I'm at with this. I want to be, we're losing that 20 pounds or I'm going to say, I can't even like using those words, losing 20 pounds, where being at a certain level in your health is as important as raising decent children. You'll do it. Where being, where starting your own business is as important as possibly breathing or putting food on the table for your family, you'll do it. Where it's incorporated into the very fabric of how you're going to live every day, you'll do it. I'll venture to say, even with weight loss, it almost won't, if it's that important to you, it almost won't even matter what you eat. Almost. So like you will find a way to make that happen. That's like, I did a video on this, like with hacks, like, cause you see 20 hacks or 5 hacks to do this, but hacks work for people who are already are living the lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like you're already so deep into whatever you're into. It's like, oh, okay. I know how to, I can work the system because you're already in the system. But but if you're not in the system, it's not a hack. You are the hack, right? The hack won't work.
Right. And I think that's where people will struggle. I mean, ultimately, it's the results. They're struggling with the result. And one of the things that, I mean, I've been through, my training over the years and whatnot, and I've done Tony Robbins, from walking on coals at 14 feet to walking on 40 feet at, through life mastery, wealth mastery, all that. Bottom line is I learned a great deal, and yet I still have challenges with outcomes because I will set, and the history was setting a goal rather than setting targets. Mm-hmm. And that little nuance has made a big difference in my expectations, because the frustration of not having met an outcome and then buying into your belief set, like I knew I couldn't do it, or I always do this, or I always fail, or certain things happen over and over and over in my life. Here I go again. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's feeding into the belief set.
Right.
So what I'm hearing is, I mean, a number of things, but to the listener that struggles with actually following through, I mean, they need to understand what it is they're really setting. Is it someone else's goal, or is it your goal? Is there, before you even get to the why, you got to understand the who. Who are you? Who are you? What do you want? Who do you want to be?
That's the thing. I don't think people realize. No, I don't think people recognize, right? And I'm not saying this in like some freaking new agey way, right? Like when I say it, like, I don't think they recognize like literally the power they have.
I want to tap into that topic right there.
I mean, you get to choose.
No, tell me how you really feel about that.
But you get to choose who you. I mean, right? Go back to like when you were 12 or 9 or 14 or whatever it was, and you had this image of your future adult self or your future self, right?
Yeah.
Like whether you were a fireman or an astronaut or a whatever. I mean, you're not that yet. Right? It's an aspiration. I don't even know if it's a goal. Like goal doesn't even maybe it is a health goal, but I don't wouldn't. But a goal like aspiration, like what do you aspire to? I aspire to be healthy. I aspire to freaking outrun every person around this block faster than them. I'm pretty sure I can do it, by the way. Right? That like I aspire to be the dad, right? That like other dads look at and be like, damn, that dude's in shape. Right? Like I aspire to be seriously, I aspire to be like to be the dad to where when my kids' friends come home and they see me home, they're like, what does your dad do? Whatever the hell he wants to do. That's what his dad, like
I don't know.
Right?
Dad's just doing
I don't know. But he's like, yeah, somehow the bills get paid, right? But ask like it lifestyle's not enough. Goals are not enough. Like, what do you aspire to be? Right? Because here's the thing. Here's what I do know about this thing is if the belief is strong enough, right? The knowledge is there, but if the belief is strong enough and it matches up with your values and all that other stuff, your brain will actually recruit the necessary resources to make sure that thing gets done.
So I heard this, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So start with what and who you are. So what is it you really want based on who do you really want to become?
Who do you want to be?
Don't expect the how to show up yet. And this is a whole nother topic. It's about comfort and discomfort and seeking uncomfortability, seeking the comfort in discomfort, which is what a yoga pose is for this guy.
Yeah.
So no, hate yoga, love the benefits. Right. Teaching me everything about it's like the cold shower that I'm working, 2 minutes of ice cold after I've had a hot shower. Yes, I do it. I can do it. It's increased my brown fat, but it's discomfort that I have to remind myself to achieve today, like to just get uncomfortable. And I don't like naturally. I have to work at that, but that's just one example. So if they have to go, what is it they really want? Who is it they really want to be? And then let the how show up. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
The brain's working on it. The subconscious is working on it.
So my dad's a contractor, right? And there's a very specific set of plans that he gets because he's a contractor. You get blueprints. That's the how. Like, that's about as how as it gets. Yep. And there's even something in project management called a critical path, right? Meet these things by this point to actually move to the next stage. But even within the blueprint, weather happens, right?
Yeah.
There's a run on steel. China's giving us crappy steel. We can't buy that. They found a desert tortoise. Yes. They found the desert tortoise. You can't, it's endangered. You can't build there. The NIMBYs say not in my backyard, the whatever. And then things get put on hold. Meanwhile, so your how gets interrupted even when you have the best of hows. Right? And so I always say, instead of ruling out, right, which is very academic, we got to rule this out. Oh, we got to rule that out. Can't happen that way. I say rule in, right? There's probably a way it's going to happen. Probably. Whatever it is, there's probably a way it's going to happen. However, sprinkle in the possibility that it could happen in a way you've never even thought of or even know about yet.
Yeah. Nice.
When I was talking about that, when I said I went on a tear and I happened to string a couple races together, a couple of wins together, the first race I won that year, I got lucky. Right? I remember it was I was literally next to the world champion. We were on the gate. He got out in front of me, and I remember coming out of the first corner going, damn it, this guy again. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just chase him down. Boom. And I'm in second. And then he made a mistake, which he doesn't do. And I won. Right? So some people would say, oh, you got lucky.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, well, did I get lucky or did I ride a better race? He's the one who made the mistake. You know what I mean? So, of course, I would have liked to have won that start to finish. But that shift, right? Me leaving room for the opportunity to win another way allowed me to take advantage of my good fortune.
Well said.
Meaning,
great example.
Does that
it's
make
a great
sense?
example. Oh yeah, it makes great sense.
Because a lot of times it's like, oh well, you know, and it's in my sport, it's all about the start. It's all about the start. And I see people literally shut down if they're not, or they settle. I'm not gonna say shut down. They settle, but it's probably the better word. They settle if they're not in first or whatever. They're like, okay, and they just kind of settle in. And actually, strategically, not always a bad choice if you're in a qualifying position.
Right. Could be the smartest thing to do at that point.
From a mindset standpoint, right? I say, okay, settle in because that's the smart thing to do. But how about, and leave room for the option, right? Things may not happen, right? Because the thing is, like, you settle in, you're right behind this guy. He does make that mistake. And now you're involved in that mistake and you crash too. As opposed to settling in, but you know what? I'm going to pull just to the side a little bit. Because this guy, right? Because I don't really know, right? And I still think there's a possibility that I can make this happen, or that it can happen for me. Who knows, right? So leaving room, so ruling in rather than ruling out is a huge skill set to apply, and a practice. It's like a mindset, like. Think about, I always go back to Jordan, but how many championships? 6 or so?
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah. It's just like the odds are against him, man.
It doesn't make sense.
But it does.
Yeah.
But it does.
Just like the 4-minute mile
it's
4 minute mile.
It's parking. I always get bitching parking spaces because I go for them.
Yeah.
Because most people rule it out. Oh man, this Guns N' Roses playing. You know, this is the Lakers Clippers game. There's not going to be parking on Christmas Day.
Right.
Okay. So all those people are not looking for it except for me. See my point?
Yes. You're managing expectations. You're staying open and you're staying present. Right? I'm hearing your presence. Like, I can be here, accept here for what here is, and stay present to change and possibility and options. It's kind of like, it's not over until what? Until until you guys cross the finish line. But the fat lady sings. The point is, it's not over yet. And I know I've been guilty of pre-assessing things out of the gate, things that I'm doing, things that I'm working on. They haven't flowed smoothly. And it's like, wait, dude, what here is of value? And if we're talking about adaptation, then now's the time to adapt. Roll with what's happening in the flow of things. So,
but
I think
you said something interesting about the finish line. Where do you go when you cross the finish line? Somewhere. That's the thing. Like, right? I raced with people. And I'm the one saying, like, hey, let's not get caught up in comparing ourselves. It's a natural thing to do, but even them, like, I didn't race against them. Mm-hmm. I raced with them. Right? That dude stepping up helped me step up, or actually forced me to choose. Do I want to step up, or am I cool just, being one of the guys? Choice, right? Again, we don't recognize how much power we have. And when we cross the finish line, guess what? We all go in different directions. One guy goes to Houston. One guy goes back to France. This guy goes to Carlsbad. And then what do you do with yourself? Like, there's a series of finish lines. A series and series and series and series of finish lines. Who do you want to be?
Well, there's something cool I really appreciate about you, by the way, and that is, and we can talk about this. We've been at this, by the way, for 1 hour, 60 minutes, which is pretty amazing. That it just flew by. I'm loving the conversation, the dialogue, and it just leads to a bunch of different things that I want to discuss with you. One being the finish line and the moving targets. The targets we set, and then one thing that coming back, as I lost track, was ego. You're aware of ego in your life, but yet I don't get egoic. I don't get that you're an egomaniac. I don't get that you're stuck on yourself and narcissistic to the standpoint, because you're a man as I. So yeah. It's there, and I know you probably battle some of that, but that's how, you come across contactable. And so, I mean, that's a skill set. And I think it's an important piece for people to see through that, because this could be another conversation as well. I keep referring to that, but vulnerability, the power to be vulnerable, and transparency is overused. Authenticity, that's tended to be overused. So vulnerability and seeking some of that, or at least accepting. And I know I've had a hard time with that. Yeah. We don't have to delve right now, but
yeah,
it's up to you on time.
Simple question, right? Do you want to protect your ego, or do you want to be happy? Because sometimes doing both is not always in the cards.
Right on. I'm putting that up. Well, thanks, brother, for your time.
Thank you.
We should probably wrap up.
I felt like I got off to a slow start, and I was a bit all over the place, but
you did great. You did great.
Right.
And that's part of feeling out where this is going to go, because, like I said, it's going to go where it needs to go. And I love the stuff we touched on, and that I couldn't have guessed that we were going to go into some of those spots. So, would you want to protect your ego or be happy?
You want to be happy, yeah. So the takeaways, right? So something that somebody can do is that, I think you were getting at that. That's like the podcast thing. What can the listeners take away today and actually do tomorrow?
Yes.
What can they do right now? They can learn to ask themselves the tough questions. They can not even ask themselves, but they can learn to answer the questions that they're scared of answering, right? They can actually force themselves to be honest with themselves and admit the thing that they're scared to admit. Just admit it. Just admit it. And then you decide, right? To decide. And this is not me, this is someone else. Otis Amy, professional, he was a 49er, but he taught me that the word decide, right? So we have pesticide, killing of pests. Yep. We have suicide, killing of self. We have homicide, killing of people. We have genocide, right? So what is it to decide? It's to kill off other options, right? So when you decide to live your aspirational life, right? New Year's resolutions, goals, but actually live your aspirational life, right? So here's a question you can answer. If whatever it is you're working on, let me rephrase it. If you're happy, if you're truly, truly happy, will the stuff you are resolutioning about matter?
Yeah. Is that going to make a difference in their life? Is it going to change
if it's
your
going to move
experience?
That needle, cool.
Do it. Yeah.
If not, then let it go. Save yourself.
I know I've been the result of setting goals that were some of my mentors, that were some competitive colleague goals. And, when they didn't get met, the frustration, it wasn't clear to me at the time as clear. Now it's just much more clear, because I can still get sucked in if I'm not staying conscious.
We all can.
Is that it was someone else's idea, and it's like that not achieving it was beautiful. That was my gift, because again, this process, I'm on my own journey. You're on your journey, and our listeners are on their journey. And the goal is to the objective is to try to get to the bottom of things, open up perspective, and allow them to see things from a different light to move forward in their best self.
That's it.
So, dude, thanks so much for your time and energy today. You were fully engaged. I dig that about you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, by the way, where can listeners find you?
Where can listeners find me? They can find me on my website, drjasonrichardson.com. That's drjasonrichardson.com. On Instagram and Twitter, @real Dr. J Rich, and then of course Facebook. Okay, cool. And where can they can find your book there? Are you still selling your book? Oh, the book's on Amazon. It's all BS.
It's on Amazon.
You're all right.
So one more time, it's
It's all BS. We're all wrong, and you're all right.
Love that. Okay, cool. Thanks so much, Dr. Jason Richardson. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Till next time.
Soon.
Ciao.
Hey guys, before you head out, I just want to thank you so much for listening, and I want you to remember, your health lies within. Support it, nurture it, and you will allow it to flow through you. Okay, my fellow health warriors, it's time to head over to iTunes, frankly speaking, drwade.com. There, you can rate, review, and subscribe, as well as share, so more of our brothers and sisters can grow to realize their voice and their health. Speaking up means you matter. We'll see you next time.